Welcome back to Cali X Boxing 2.0. Like, sub, hit those alerts. And remember, this is a no fanager zone, so leave your fanager talking points at the door. Jermall Charlo is back in action against Jose Benavidez Jr. on the undercard of Benavidez versus Boo Boo Andrade on a Showtime pay-per-view, which is laughable in its own right. And the funny thing about the Jermall Charlo fight, there are many things funny about this fight, is this is his first fight since June 19th, 2021. His first fight in 2.5 years. So he has gone 2.5 years without defending his belt that he still owns, by the way. Still owns the belt. And he comes back after 2.5 years of being laid up, of not fighting, in a fight where he won't be defending his belt that he hasn't been defending. There may not be a more privileged fighter in the sport today than Jermall Charlo. Still owns that belt. His nickname is Hitman, and that's ironic because he hasn't been hitting anybody the past 2.5 years. 15-year vet, only 4 title fights. One of the most overvalued fighters in the sport because some people have argued in the past that this guy belongs on pound-for-pound lists. What makes the Jermall Charlo situation worse than the Leo Santa Cruz situation is this guy hasn't fought at all and kept the belt. And even more embarrassing is the fact that he's been given this tune-up fight after 2.5 years of doing nothing, absolutely nothing. The Jose Benavidez Jr. fight will be a 10-rounder at a catch weight of 163 and not for the title. Not for the title. Meanwhile, Carlos Adames sits in position waiting for a vacant belt because Charlo versus Adames is not being ordered. And by the way, when do they petition the WBC? When do they complain to the WBC about not getting a shot at the real title? And oh, by the way, when does he complain to his advisor? Hey, this other guy that you also advise, when are you going to tell him to move out the way so I can get a shot at the real title? At yesterday's press conference for Charlo versus Benavidez Jr., Ernesto Amador, reporter, asked Jermall Charlo about how he feels about holding up the middleweight division. And Charlo, and I'm paraphrasing, said, "Come get the belt tomorrow. It's just a trophy." Charlo has also said that he wants to move up to 168 in the future and challenge Benavidez. So it further calls into question why the WBC is bending over backwards to keep this belt in the hands of Jermall Charlo. This whole WBC Charlo saga has been an embarrassment for boxing, and in a proper sport, everybody involved in this would be exiled forever. I'm seeing Ring Magazine get more heat from the guys on YouTube and boxing Twitter for not having Sonny Edwards versus Bam Rodriguez for the ring title at 112. But to Ring Magazine's credit, they have a transparent process, a ratings panel that was split, showing diversity of opinion. It also shows that Ring Magazine has concern for the future of the sport, worrying if number 1 versus number 4 for the designated lineal title sets a bad precedent. Organizations like the WBC are obviously not worried about precedent at all. Because Jermall Charlo not fighting for 2.5 years and being able to keep the belt, and then when he does come back, he's able to fight a 10-rounder against a one-legged fighter, 3 pounds above the middleweight limit, that sets one hell of a precedent for the future. And if I'm given a choice between the two, and whether I'd like to see an organization show rigidness, a thought for precedent, or an organization that shows favoritism to certain fighters, it makes rulings depending on which way the wind is blowing that particular day. Give me structure, stability, and rule of law every day of the week, even if I disagree with Ring Magazine's ruling on 112 and Sonny Edwards versus Bam Rodriguez not being for the Ring Magazine title when I feel like it should be. Part of the reason sanctioning bodies exist is to afford lesser-named fighters opportunities to fight in bigger fights through the ranking system. If they continue to win, they move up the ranking system and eventually fight for belts that could bring them more marketability and bigger fights. Without that, the Julius Ndongos of the world don't get title shots, don't get unification fights, and then unifications that they can then win and leverage into undisputed 7-figure paydays. In 2023, not only are sanctioning bodies' ranking systems broke, but now a champion is allowed to keep a belt for 2.5 years without defending it. Jermall Charlo has plenty of people speaking out for him. What about the people underneath him in the rankings who are stuck in gridlock and are not able to fight for a belt that could bring them more notoriety? while Charlo hoards that very belt, with by his own admission, brings him no value. While the rest of the fighters in the ranking system are sacrificed at the altar of Jermall Charlo's mental health, the WBC uses this opportunity to virtue signal about how much they care about fighters. But make no mistake about it, this move by the WBC the past year plus when it comes to Jermall Charlo has been an anti-fighter move. There are fighters up and down those rankings that have mental health issues and all kind of problems with less money to deal with those problems with, and less people than Jermall Charlo has in his corners to speak out for them. No fighter should be above the rules. This whole saga has been embarrassing. It set a terrible precedent. And the bad news is it will likely happen again.